April 26th. As someone who followed the game since a week after release, I know that this is the release date of Honkai Star Rail. At the time, it was Hoyoverse's most recent title. The banners for 1.0 would be Zila and Jingyuan, who would struggle to be buffed for over 2 years. Zila is what roped me into the game. I spent a long time trying to get her. I failed her 50-50, then I just kept pulling until I got her. Naturally, I freaked out. Before Jingyuan's release, I decided to complete everything. Every chest, every quest, but I wouldn't be able to beat every part of the endgame. I wasn't there yet. And then the other updates came out. I kept playing and playing, all the while having a good time while doing so. The 2.x story saga was probably one of the best gacha stories I've experienced, and I would do anything to go back and experience that for the first time again. This era was also when my content started its peak, so that too is something that was fun to experience. But then, Amphoreus released, and my motivation dropped. Every update felt weaker than the last until finally, I clicked Uninstall. Guys, Honkai Star Rail is what started my channel. It's one of the most critical pieces to my YouTube journey. Although my most viewed video isn't Star Rail related, I got most of my views and subs from playing Star Rail. This game is what made a huge portion of my channel, and now I'm going to abandon that along with my 2-year journey of non-stop playtime, non-stop grinding, non-stop investment, and former joy with this video. This is how I learned that Star Rail got worse. So as I said in the beginning, I've been playing Honkai Star Rail for 2 years. Most of the game's days after releasing was my time spent playing. I didn't miss a single login during 2024, and I started clearing Endgame extremely consistently during the 2.x saga. When I full star cleared my first Endgame, it made my day. It showed that I was making the right steps, graduating from the former embarrassment that was my account. It was incredible. But this joy would only start to decrease once Amphoreus was announced. During the Game Awards, I was watching with my friends, and at the time, we were just looking at titles, making fun of shit, basic group chat activity. But when Amphoreus appeared onto the show as a preview, I freaked the fuck out. I was not going to bed until I saw Star Rail make an announcement, and I flipped out when they did. Fast forward, Amphoreus releases. The story was long, but hey, it's a new region, so surely this is the only time they do this. The next patch was 6 hours long, then 7 hours, then 8 hours. The time would barely decrease or increase. I was beginning to hate how such a great story, because I do believe that Amphoreus was cooking up a good story. I was angry that this good potential story was being dragged out so much more than it needed to be. For reference, the longest Penacony story was about 7 hours, but this story wasn't planned to be stretched out for over a year. They literally said that they planned for 3.x to have the story content constantly updating this year. It would last the entire year. Yeah, Penacony has long stories the more it goes on, but holy shit, they keep dropping multiple movies each update, and this is planned to happen the entire year. You might be able to get 100 hours worth of story by the end of the year if they keep going at this pace. But this is just a bit of the issues. The rest of the issues we get into are more impactful, since these are unavoidable. Now, Star Rail in the past was a very, generous game. We were given tons of unique events and modes to play, with the opportunity to earn good amounts of Jades. You would have your few events, the Sin Uni or now the Divergent Uni, and the Endgame modes. But there's a problem now. You see, the Endgame modes require you to have multiple teams, at least 2. Your team should be sufficiently built with decent synergies to complement the characters. But what if you can't accomplish this? HSR has had a severe reduction in events. Recently, the amount of events appearing in the 3.x saga was spiked down a ton. The event tab being empty with character trials and story mission quick navigations being the only things there is a lot more common to see now. But why exactly is this bad? Now remember, earlier I said that you need good teams to clear the endgame. Well, think about this. How can you get those teams if you can hardly afford the characters to begin with? That's where this issue comes in. Missing the best units means missing on the top rewards. Getting as much Jades as possible is a must because you can't have too many nowadays. Especially if you're trying to get a character you're not even guaranteed to get on their 50-50. And on the topic of characters, how about we discuss the huge meta switch? Before HSR, multiple units from multiple patches were viable. But now, that's not exactly the case. Look at the tier list, and you'll realize that only Ampharea's characters can clear now. Acheron, Fei Xiao, Rappa, Firefly, all of the former top-tier DPS struggle unless your investment is really high. And to make matters worse, the endgame itself is near impossible to this degree by literal gameplay. HSR inflates the HP a little bit so that the enemies get a bit stronger. Every Gacha game has done this at least a little bit. But not to the degree that Star Rail did. One patch I was able to clear with Acheron, but when 3.0's MOC came out, I wasn't even able to get to the second wave on that floor with Acheron. They inflated the HP so much that the 2 most recent DPS at the time were the only ones that were able to clear consistently. I mean, my Fei Xiao was still relevant, sure, but that's because of her light cone. But now it seems that only Ampharea's characters are able to clear. How can I draw this opinion? Because I reinstalled the game and experienced it myself. When HSR 3.4 came out, I decided to come back. The fake collab was soon to drop, Finon looked awesome, and I was just excited overall. The buffs seemed good, and when I tested the buffs out in general, they were pretty fun. But then I went to do the endgame. For Pure Fiction, I cleared every floor but the last. For Memory of Chaos, I cleared every floor but the last. I didn't even try Apocalyptic Shadow, because I knew the outcome would be the same. Now, keep in mind, I thought that since I had Castris with Tribi who was E1, and an Aglaya who was E1 with one of her best teams, I thought that I could clear. Well, no, not even close. I was wrong. I was completely fucking wrong. Just for the record, I live streamed this, and my internet was acting up when I did that live stream, so towards the end, I took that as my sign to just give up. This game was beyond saving, and I just couldn't bear to play the game anymore. After I shut off that stream, I uninstalled Star Rail for the second time, and with that, I have truly given up. The title of this video is likely going to be along the lines of how HSR Fell Off, or something like that, and yet I never explained why that was the case. Well, before I reveal my theory, I just want to say, thank you for sticking around. I stream and I do content and live streams on other Gacha games, so subscribe if you want to see that and be notified when those release. But anyways, why? Why did HSR fall off so badly? How did it become what it is now? There's 2 reasons. Now, the first one is a given. Hoyoverse as a company is a bunch of greedy people collectively trying to rob their player base. We all know this, but that's only part of the reason. The real reason is much more than just that. Honkai Star Rail went too fast. Now, what exactly do I mean by this? Well, let's look at power creep. In 1.0, the first DPS we get is 0. Then 4 patches later in 1.4, we had a spike in DPS with Jing Liu. We went from doing 100k per ult to doing 200k on a skill if you run her best team. Going from a character who follows up after a kill to a character who spikes her own stats and powers up her skills to a high degree is a huge jump in power. There's zero debate there. Then 4 patches later in 2.1, we get another spike in DPS with Acheron. This time, we go from a character who does skill nukes to a character who just murders everyone, despite what elements you're weak to. Acheron is the first DPS unit to disregard weakness types, while still murdering the enemy. The highest she did at E0, if done correctly, is close to 1 million. Now, 2 patches later in 2.3, it's Firefly. This is the first Super Break DPS in the game, which introduced a new meta. Super Break dominated the game until Amphareus came out, but that's not all. Firefly didn't just ignore weaknesses, she implanted her element as a weakness onto enemies by default. 2 more patches later in 2.5 we get Fei Xiao, who's similar to Acheron but just a single target unit this time. But now, a singular patch later, we get Rappa in 2.6. Keep in mind guys, it's only been more than a year and a half at this point, and units are already doing 1 million damage crits much more consistently. Within a year, we went from a follow-up attack after every kill being an extremely broken mechanic to implanting your own weakness and doing 1 million damage every attack. But even so, it's not as bad as it is now. During the Amphareus saga, every update has a new power creep. If you get one thing, you'll be missing out on the other thing. To make matters worse, every other update, sometimes even every update, is a new unit. Pile that onto the lack of Jade payouts, and it's just unfair, and it's hard to keep up with. Before we move on, if you still don't understand what I meant, HSR increased the damage potential and enemy stats too fast to possibly keep up with, resulting in the devs spiking the difficulty to an insane degree after only 2 years of the game being out. With that being said, how about we wrap up this video with some final thoughts. I miss how Star Rail used to be. Even with the power creep, people still manage to find ways to clear content, despite the challenge in using older units. Now, I'm not so sure that you could say the same thing is possible, unless you're some dude on CN servers using units with 900 million attack and 6 billion crit rate per damage. Now, it sucks to have to make this video because I thought Star Rail would be a long-term game for me. But, I guess not. And now, with that being said, that's about it for today's video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like the video and subscribe for more Gacha Gaming content. We're trying to reach 500 subscribers, so subscribe to make that possible. Comment down below what you want to see next and check out my community tab and Discord for updates on upcoming videos. Be sure to also check out my Twitter. I shitpost, reply to my favorite creators and some dumbasses, so check that out as well. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.